website, or is this?
I'm recording on my computer.
Oh, okay.
I have Camtasia on my computer. So we'll start really quick, Willie, with Poll Everywhere, which is you know, as Lynn was saying, there's 3 Clicker things this week or more.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Clicker presentations this week. This is basically a way of doing the Clicker technology without having to do the technology. And Andy knows a lot more about the Clicker technology than I do. So, but this is just another way of kind of getting to the same stuff, so that you can get feedback from students as you're teaching and that kind of stuff. It allows for open-ended responses, so you can ask them to give you responses. And I'm gonna have Athena show us here in a minute some of these ways that you can do these things. Some advantages that I have found working with faculty on this is that, and now, as Lynn was saying and Andy knows, the Clickers now allow you to use a cell phone as well. So this is a good thing, because one of the big things about the Clickers when we did some of the assessment of this in the past has been that the students never remember to bring them. The batteries are dead. They forget to register them or whatever. These are the things that are not going very well with them. And so those are things that they don't like, the students don't like about the Clickers. And then with a cell phone, I mean, if you think your students do not remember to bring a cell phone to class, you're delusional. They have their cell phones. They have their cell phones. They're using their cell phones. They love their cell phones. I mean, and all of us do, right? I mean, we have all kinds of nice backgrounds and nice cases, and this is what we all do. We do all kinds of fun stuff. We personalize them. If you have a smartphone, you have all these apps on them, and I mean, look at Athena's picture phone here. She's got all this nice case, and she's got all kinds of bling. It becomes an extension of your personality, And so when you walk into a classroom and a faculty member says, "I want to take out your cell phone. I want you to turn it off, and put it on your backpack. I do not want to see that thing." Then all of a sudden it's like, well, this person is clearly not one of me. This is not something that's going to work with me at all. This is not going to go well. Even if you turn out to be a really great professor, you still have started out on a really bad foot.
You've put up a barrier.
Yeah, you put up a barrier. Yeah. Exactly. So but when you say, okay, take your cell phone out, we're going to use them right now, they all go, oh my God, this is so exciting. And so that's kind of the idea behind this. Now, so the university has bought a site license for this, which was a whopping $700 for everything, which is crazy cheap. I'm still surprised by that, so I have to tell everybody that. It's very exciting to me. And so you guys all, everybody here has an account, because I sent an email out to all the people who had accounts already. We'll probably try to do something for a general open session that people that don't have accounts can try it out. But we'd probably just start with people who had accounts, because you're probably wanting to use. If you have an account, you're probably wanting to use it this semester, which is starting really soon. So we thought we'd throw this out here to get going on it. So basically, I think maybe I'll just have Athena come over here and sign in and show you guys some of her polls really quick, and then we'll show you some of the more administrative things.
So everyone, take out your cell phone and use them and play with them. They're really fun. But truthfully, students do see them as an attachment to their bodies, and in some of the studies that Christy and I have done over the last year, students are reporting that when they were allowed to use their cell phones for learning, they felt more connected to instructors and classmates, and they felt like it was contributing to their learning. Even if we don't know that to be true, this is the student's perception of using the cell phone. So in our minds, we can't help but notice that and want to be able to employ it and use it in the classroom.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Have you guys published your study?
It's in right now, awaiting. So
okay.
Hopefully, I do have the article that I can share with everyone if you're interested.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested.
Yes, we'll share that later today. So here's, I've logged in. You can see I have several polls. I use them for different things. I'm just going to show you a couple of these so that you can get familiar. But teacher-student communication in the classroom, are you most concerned about? I did this poll, I think, with some graduate students that I was giving a presentation to. What is ethics? There's a question that I ask in my public speaking class that I teach over at LCCC, and have the students actually text in what they think ethics is. And it's so interesting because some of them have a similar belief about what it is, and some people are not necessarily way off, but they don't exactly know what ethics means or what it is. Same thing with rhetoric, that's another word. So I think it's fun in the classroom just to pose a question once in a while to see if students are on the same page before you start the discussion. Also, you see this one here, Jeopardy buzzer. It may seem kind of funny, but we actually use this in interpersonal communication for our Jeopardy buzzer. We did a Jeopardy review, played Jeopardy for review for our summit, which is essentially an exam, but I call them summits. And they got into groups, small groups, 4 or 5 different groups, and would designate the fastest texter, and they thought that was so fun, because whoever could text in the quickest would get the buzzer on Jeopardy and get to answer the question. And quite honestly, I don't have buzzer technology in the classroom, so having the cell phone right there was really fun. And then they'd have their little tips about who had the fastest service provider and all these kind of things. But they were very engaged in Jeopardy that day because of this. So let's just create a poll here real quick that all of you can respond to. So I just go over here to create new poll. And I'm going to ask a multiple choice question of you, but you can ask a open-ended question where people can text in as well. You can also do a goal poll, which is kind of interesting. So let's see here. How might you use Poll Everywhere in your classroom? And then I'm going to give you some options. So after I've put the question in,
A new interface.
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I did this
enter.
yesterday. You just hit enter,
and then
yeah.
you can put-
And then I
That's a
convert
good
it to
one, yeah.
multiple choice, so it gives you a chance to make a question first. And let's say we're going to use it like as a clicker. Let's say we're going to use it potentially as a buzzer. Can't spell buzzer. Let's say we're going to use it as a means of communicating, or no, not that. I was thinking of something else. As a clicker, as a buzzer, or as a way for students to give feedback to one another, which is another way I've used it in the classroom. Students in my summer public speaking class would get up and give a speech, and then I would have all of the students in the class pull out their cell phones and pull in one good thing they did in their speech and one thing they needed improvement upon, and they got immediate feedback on that speech that they gave to the students, and they wouldn't receive their grade from me for another 2 days. So it was nice to give them that immediate feedback, and you would see these generalities like needs more eye contact or excellent vocal tone, and the students would repeat each other, not knowing that they were, so you could see the general theme of what people thought they should improve and what they thought they did well. So let's say as a feedback mechanism. Okay. So now we've created our 3 options that we'd like to have on the poll, and we hit continue. So it's very easy, as you can see, and the poll automatically pops up right here to show us what it's going to look like. Now, hi, come on in. Now, I don't really like, the thing I love about Poll Everywhere is its interactivity, but from the beginning, you have these numbers, and it's hard to remember what number you're texting to where. But now that we have a license for it, you can actually go in and edit the poll right here, clicking on Edit. And you can put a keyword for this number, so it's much easier to text a keyword than a big long number. It's easier for students to remember anyway. So as a clicker, let's just use click for our keyword. And it'll search, and then it tells me, yes, this keyword is available. And so then I'm going to do that down here as well. Buzzer, let's call it buzz. And sometimes it will tell you keyword taken. And so maybe I've used that before, or maybe it's not long enough. So if I just go buzzer, yep, it's available. So sometimes you have to change it a little bit to make sure the keyword will work. And then let's call it feed. Let's just call it feedback for simplicity. And, oh, that keyword's taken, so let's call it FIBA is available. Let's just do that. FIBA. Okay, and then save poll. And I really like this because you can create it also on the fly in the classroom. Students have a question and you want to know their feedback. Hey, let's put that up on a poll. And then I open it up to the class. I say, who wants to come up and type in the poll? And then the students get all excited because they get to use Poll Everywhere now. And in my speech class, I've had a lot of students start to use it themselves in their speeches as an attention getter because they can get a free account. So anyway, then from here, I would say, okay, everybody, ready to take the poll. I'd pull it to full screen version, which is what I just clicked on. And I tell students, text the keyword that's listed there to 37607. That's my account. So it knows to go there. They can also go online and do it. and at http://pollev.com. So you can leave a poll. This poll could stay open for a week if I wanted it to. And I could have students who are in an online class poll in sometime during the week, and then we could look at it the next time that we all meet together in class or at the end of the week, and I could share the results with the rest of the class. So go ahead now, take out your cell phone if you haven't done so already, and go to your text messaging option.
Or if you have a computer, you can do it.
Or your computer, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Sure you did. Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm logged into
somebody did, so that's
Two
great.
people have.
3 people. Oh, okay. And in the to field is where you actually type 37607. This is the hardest part at first when students are using this. They're like, what do I put in the to field? Shouldn't there be a person's name? And so you have to teach them that the person's name really is 37607. And then they can type the keyword in. And it should automatically feed in. It's pretty quick, as you can see. It comes in relatively quickly for student feedback. Now, the nice thing about this, I'll also show you what a text message poll would look like. So let's leave this poll and we'll come back to it. You can always do a poll and then come back to it later at the end of class. One student yesterday at the graduate student orientation brought up a good point. She said, but how is that effective for asking it sort of like a quiz question or test question? Because can't students see what other students are doing? And they're all going to go for click if that's the right answer. Yes, but not spontaneously. They can see it, so you're not going to use it as an assessment mechanism. But they could be texting while the responses are coming in. And if they've selected buzzer and that's the incorrect answer, it's going to go in anyway because they've already sent it. So there is a chance that students are going to wait and watch to see what everybody says, and then they're going to poll in with that same answer. But what I've found is students get so excited to text, they're not paying attention to what others are doing. They want to see if they can get their text in first. And they're quickly texting, and then whatever they said is their truthful answer is going to pop up. So you can't really use it for, say, an in-class quiz if you're trying to grade everybody, and besides, it's anonymous. But at least, yeah, it doesn't have to be. But it can be anonymous.
You can't delay this and have it pop up.
Yeah. So I could say the only problem is that you want them to see what the buzzwords are or what the keywords
there
are.
might be a setting for that, actually.
Yeah. So you could do like a screen capture of here's what you would text in, and then leave that up for students to text in but not show the results right away and have a delayed results. That would be a good thing. But anyway, so this is what the poll looks like, and you see a lot of people are saying I might use it as a buzzer, but I mostly would probably use it as a clicker, and I might even try feedback, one person, and it tells you at the bottom you have total results 7. So even though this says 4, you've got to look here because they've gone to other places. And so you have 7 respondents, and 4 of them said they like clickers, 2 of them said they'd use it as a buzzer, and 1 said maybe for feedback. So it tells you what they say. Okay, so now we want to stop the poll. Let's say it's over. We've decided it's been on long enough. We want to stop the poll. And we can, Christy's going to talk about some of this later, but you could use it as a PowerPoint slide. You could save this information and compare to what students say next year in something. You could share it in a PDF or a document. You could load it to a website. So there's lots of uses for it. Now let's say we were to create a text poll. Just go into create new poll, and it automatically puts all your polls into a list, and you can file them and organize them. Let's say I'm going to ask you how, or what do you like about Poll Everywhere? That's my question, and then I'm going to this time convert it to, let's go continue. Yeah, and this one just pops up as a text message response, so they can put in a limited number of characters, but I think it's about as many as they can put into their phone. And there's no responses received yet because I haven't said go, but feel free to answer the poll now. In here you can also change your number again to be a keyword by going edit. And right down here we'd like a word. So let's see if poll is taken. Imagine that is taken. Let's say poll 1. That's available.
Is this just your keywords? Or
I'm just making these up.
No, is it the entire database at Poll Everywhere's keywords.
That I'm not
polls
sure
thing.
about.
I'm not sure about either.
I tend to think it might be the entire database
I do
and the
too.
reason, or the entire licensing agreement for UW, because I know I don't have this as a keyword yet, so it's got to be someone
I
else.
think it might be the database too.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's entire database because students only access polif.com, right? There's no identification that
Right.
goes to
Right.
like your
Well,
account. So
Right.
True.
So
Well, it depends. Yeah, it depends.
Well-
it depends on how it works, how it's working exactly. But yeah,
Well, 37607 is my
Is
account
her
number,
account.
so you will have a different account number for each of yours. So it remembers into your poll, or it automatically inputs there, but the keywords I think must come from the entire universe of poll users here at UW. So anyway, this is what it would look like. So feel free to text to poll 1 or to 37607, type in poll 1, and then immediately after it, you can put a space if you want to, but you don't have to. You can type what you'll do, like anonymous feedback. Type your response. And so a lot of students say, do I have to put a space? Is there any special thing? And there is not. But if they mistype poll 1, it will not go into the poll. And it will send them a response that says message can't be sent or something like that. And so you can watch the responses come in. What I do in my class is I discuss each response as it comes in, and students kind of like that, and then it gives time for the rest of those responses to stack up. I say, oh, look, it looks like a couple of us agree that we're going to be using this for anonymous and instant feedback and to participate, so you can kind of build on the conversation. And you can save this. I know in student affairs they're thinking about doing a poll in the student orientation group and the parents orientation group and comparing their thoughts on one question to see if the parents are on base or off base. And so that's an interesting way is to compare polls.
Oh, my name's in there.
so you have an automatic. That's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, keep in
You
mind.
can tell your students they want it to be
Anonymous.
anonymous. They
Yeah.
need to make sure they don't have their automatic signature. on it.
Signature
Yeah,
on, right.
We'll put their name in there.
So the other concern too is if you have 5 students in class and you start to get to know them like I did over the summer, I start to know whose response is whose. So I tell them if you want to make yourself truly anonymous, make your responses, try not to use specific language, make them clear and concise, but perhaps just use your short version of a sentence. I tell them you don't have to do full paragraphs because some students write in full sentences even when they text message, and so then I know which student that is. And then I don't put anything on a poll everywhere that I think would be too detrimental to someone or too revealing. They're simple questions in class, and I tell them they do not have to participate if they don't want to. So it's always an option in that sense. And now there's a way to track who participated, but before I always used it without tracking who participated. So that's kind of how that works, and I'm going to turn it back over to Christy now so she can show you.
can
You want me to leave it up?
Doesn't
Okay.
matter to me.
So she can show you a little bit more.
Okay, so those are just some quick ideas. Some faculty use it in large classes to kind of get a feel for whether students are actually getting what they wanted, what they're hoping they get, and even things like very small classes. You can ask things like a question that they may not want to actually say. You might ask them something that's kind of a delicate scenario or something. They might not want them to actually say it out loud. This actually happens in big classes as well. But they will respond this way. We find in the big classes especially that you get students who are sitting back there that are engaged, are interested, but will not answer questions out loud. Absolutely will not do it. But you start throwing this out there, and they will get involved, and it's kind of cool. You're getting some voices from students who you
Yeah.
don't normally get. That's even happened in small classes sometimes.
Yeah, my most silent students in the back of the classroom will poll in. Sometimes they're the ones that poll in first, and the most vocal students just want to speak their response, or they don't want to poll in. So I find that it really engages the students who are not inclined to speak.
So some of the things that you can do with these, so you can just use it straight like this. It's still really easy. There's a lot of settings too, though. So you can change the appearance to different things. So if you look at this, you can see how it do different types of things depending upon what you might want to match whatever you're talking about, possibly. My favorite one was actually, where is it? No, it was. I think it was this one. No, I don't know where it went.
Ooh, I like that one.
No, this one. I think I like this one. this one kind of made this interesting cloud that keeps bouncing around. It was really fun.
That's
I don't know. I don't know that it's actually useful, but it was the most fun. But you can change the theme, and as a new one comes in, it makes it white and then grays out everything else and moves everything around. But you can change the theme, you can change the colors, you can change different backgrounds. You can throw pictures in there if you want. I'm not positive that the picture is an awesome thing. You can put a logo in there, and what often happens when I've uploaded a logo, and if it's very big, it kind of pushes all of the stuff off the bottom. But you can also do a background if you wanted a background behind it. So if you had a picture that you might put in the background that they could see through the poll, you could do that. And I know Peter was asking the other day about, if you wanted somebody to respond to a graphic, if you wanted them to respond to a graphic, there's some ways we can do that as well, and I can show you those too. So you have these settings. You also have settings for the messages. What kind of effect you can adjust all of these things and the color that they come in. Okay, this is for a pre-response. There's other options for the multiple choice.
What is that show participants down there, Christy?
If they're registered, it'll tell you who they are.
Okay, so that's
So if you have them registered and you want them to be attached to the thing, which there's probably application for that as well, then you can actually show that. So that's kind of that. What was a couple of cool things is that I can see. I can moderate these, which is something that you can't do in the free version, which means that some faculty are very concerned about what students might text in. Now, I can tell you that having done this with a group of 13 to 18-year-old high school kids, they behave pretty well. I haven't ever had to do anything. I've done this with young kids, and they don't. I mean, you're asking them to actually participate in something with their cell phone. Usually, they're in a pretty good mood about it. This has been my experience. I mean, I get something to say hi. And that's not too disturbing. But if you feel like, or if you have a problem, or you feel like you might have a problem, you can turn on the moderator thing. What that does is you turn it on, and then what happens is you can see the, why is this not going down? You can see the thing, and then I can check it if I want to approve it or not check it. They don't see that. Nobody else sees that. Actually, they might see that. Anyway.
No, they probably won't, not in the full screen.
Not when it's actually going. Yeah, in full screen, they won't see it. So you can decide what they're going to see. Okay? That would be the moderator option. That's new in the not free version. The other thing that's kind of cool is you can make a word cloud out of your. I think this is really cool. You can go in here and you can copy this, and then you can go. It shows you how to go to Wordle, and then you can make a word cloud out of your thing, which is really fun. So that way, if you're having a discussion, if you're having a discussion about something. Kind of, you're trying to get an idea of what people are having questions about or whatever, you can throw it into a Wordle, and if you're not familiar with Wordles, you will be in a minute here, so you get an idea. So clearly the reason we think it's good is for student feedback, which is pretty much what we came up with.
And it puts the words that are more heavily used in a larger font and the other ones in smaller fonts.
So it's kind of a fun thing to do. I did this with the group of kids I was working with were actually for the ski team. And I asked them a free response question on what was their number one question about training. And then I could do a Wordle, and I could see really quickly what their number one question was, because I had like 30 responses or something, and that was hard to scroll through, but I can just turn it into a Wordle really quick.
It's like a quick mean or median mode type thing with a font.
With words.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's another cool thing. One thing that you also have is you actually have the ability, let me just turn this so that you can see the whole thing. You have the ability to have them respond in different ways. So they can do a text message. They can do a web device, which is either a computer or a web-enabled phone. They can do that. You have a private link. So if you had a private link, it'll have a specific link that they will go to. So those are the ways that people can respond. And you can set if you're using Twitter in your class for some reason, you can turn on the tweets to a certain poll, and you can add that as well. If that's something that you're already doing, and you have students that are doing that the Twitter thing. That not a lot of faculty do that, but certainly Stan would probably have use for that. Okay, so those are the kind of ways that you can set up so they can respond. You can also go in and download the slides. So what's cool about this is I have a Mac, so this is saying you use Mac Presenter. But in Windows, you can actually download it and put a slide into PowerPoint. And what that is actually is if you've got a PowerPoint and you're going through your PowerPoint or whatever, or in the Mac when you do a similar thing, you will just go to that slide and they can start responding right there, and it will start changing right there. It's connected to the Poll Everywhere data. Okay.
Christy, question on that. Is it as quick of a feedback as it is when you're just on Poll Everywhere?
I really don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
It is? Okay, I was wondering. I wasn't sure on that.
Let me show you what the Mac version of this looks like really quick. I should have opened it, but I didn't. It makes a little floating thing right here, which is actually I kind of like this better because I don't really like PowerPoint. We'll have to sign in with my account because I don't know. This information, and I can't get this right either. Okay. Anyway,
It just has a little floating icon that you click on.
what's interesting with the Mac version of this? Oh, good deal. I got it finally. Is that it allows you to float it over anything. So instead of it being in the other one, so if this is mine, I have this poll that I can float over anything I'm using. So like I was telling Peter, if he wanted to do this, he could have a picture up on his screen and just have this float over the top. Okay. And you can choose anything you want. And you can also just minimize it, and it goes down to a tiny little icon while you're doing other stuff. And then when you want it, you just pop it up, and then you can go back in and choose a poll. And
Chrissy,
go
when
with
you
it.
download that for Mac Poll Everywhere, Mac Presenter, it's an app that goes onto your computer, or is it just...
Yeah, it's a little app.
It's a little app.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so the one that I said, where is it? Oh well, doesn't really matter. You get the idea. So you can float those over the top of it, and so those are two different ways you can use it to download as that. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to do too. And then finally, when you're finished with it, or not even finished with it, you can you can share it all different kinds of ways. So you can share it on Facebook or tweet or whatever, but Twitter. But you can also embed it in a website page or a blog, or you can email it.
Or your core shell, right?
Or your core shell. So I've actually done that with an eCollege shell. I've actually the one poll that we saw. This poll this one. Please leave any comments or suggestions that help me improve this course. I have embedded it in my eCollege shell so that when students go to that content item, this is there, and then they will just go in and respond to it, and then the responses show up there. The reason I did that was because there's no way in eCollege to get an anonymous poll. So I wanted them to be able to do this anonymously without them being attached to a name. So this is why I did that.
So
as
this
opposed
has
to
a benefit for
so yeah, and so they can go in and just add that whenever they want. So that's kind of so you can embed that in a poll in a web page or whatever too. You can also just have there's a link, and if you actually click on this, you can preview what it looks like. So I can send this link to somebody, and when they click on the link, this is what they're going to get is this, and so they can just see this and respond to it. So that's another kind of cool things about that. So those are the options for a free response. Now, if we go back to and look at a multiple choice response, did you just create one?
Yeah, it's right. They're at the bottom. I don't know why mine's listing at the bottom. What do you? Yeah, right
Okay.
there. Mm-hmm.
So what you can, there's more options on this because it's a little more quantitative data here. So you can, in this one you have the appearance once again, so you can choose all the different appearances. You have the instructions, and you can decide how you want this done, and then you also have a chart option, and this gives you just all kinds of options for how you want it to display. I can do it columns or bars. I can do it by number of votes or percentages, whatever I choose. I can do a leaderboard. If you have people registered, you can do a leaderboard. Or actually, no, the leaderboard will arrange them. You won't be able to tell on this one. It'll show whichever one has the most votes at the top. It'll rearrange your poll if this one already is. So randomly, you can change the color. You can also do, change the axis, all these things. Now, what else you can do is called the segment responses, which I haven't ever used because it just literally appeared like a day ago. But I looked into it.
That do?
What it does is if you have people, so let's try one really quick. We're gonna try one. So we'll create a new poll, and we'll say, maybe we'll create a new poll, and we're gonna say, how many students do you have? Okay. And oops, no. Yes, I do want that. We'll say 20, 30, 50, 100 plus. We'll just randomly, okay? So we have this poll. So everybody needs to text in for this. Anybody who responded last time needs to do it again. Or you don't all have to, but a fair amount of you would be helpful. More than one would be helpful. Oh, and I'm not going to do the keywords, so you'll just have to do the numbers. I don't mess with that right now. And we'll see if I can get this to work. I've never done it before, so, we'll see. but it's supposed to be pretty easy. Okay, we got 6. Anybody else? Not in
Well,
there?
it's thinking about sending.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, that's about how many we had last time, so we'll just call this good.
Yeah.
So then what you can do is you can go in here and you can say chart and you can say enable the segment responses, and it says what do you want to put this with, and we're going to say actually we want to see how might you use poll everywhere, and that way we can see which of the students. So what we're seeing here is that people who had 30 students, you wanted to use it as feedback methods. See what I'm saying? So it's taking both of the information and putting them together.
So
Making
is it
sense?
matching? So the person who said they wanted it as a feedback
Right.
mechanism
Had 30.
chose 30, so it matched those two responses
Yeah.
together. Okay.
So did you understand? So you can see the students who responded a certain way to this poll. You can then see how they responded to this poll. If that makes sense.
So you're
So how many
overlaying two
segments
polls.
can you have?
I think only 2. I think you can only do 2. I'm not positive about that. Like I said, this is the first time I actually use it in any kind of demonstration or anything, actually.
So you could say, like, how do you think you're going to do in this class? A, B, C, D, F. And then how many
Yeah.
hours do you study? And then you can
Right.
overlay those and show direct correlation.
Exactly. It's basically correlations is what we've got going here.
Awesome.
So now I missed the part where you did the segmentation. So when you're working on a particular question, then you pick another question to
So you
segment
go in here and you say
against?
segment, and then you have all your options
Oh, okay.
down here, and then you
Of
choose
your
which
other
ones you
polls.
are.
Oh,
They have to be the same students, because what it's done is it's matched
The
an
numbers.
IP address or something. We don't know who they are at this point because we haven't had anybody register, which I'll show you in a minute.
Right.
But it will match the responses from whatever. So
Okay.
if they change devices, so
Right,
if I text
then-
once and then send it
right.
from my computer, it won't match them.
Right, okay.
But if I text from the same phone twice, then it will match them.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And you can do that. They said you can use this kind of to do. One thing I would suggest is if you want to use this, is watch. They have somewhere on the thing. If you look on the front page, they have an actual little video of how they did it, and they were using it as kind of a contest type thing, so that they could see. They divided themselves into teams. So they would say, "Where are you from?" or pick a team or whatever. Or they divided them into teams. They gave them a team, and then they could ask them questions, and they could see which team was answering right. You see what I mean?
By
So they-
overlaying the two.
by overlaying the two, because they would pick the team and then they would answer the questions, and then they could see which team had the highest percentage of correct answers.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I'm thinking about
The wheels
that.
are spinning, aren't they?
Yes.
They did it with like somebody. They said like East, Central, West, and then they had them answer poll questions, and then they
Right.
matched them up, and they could see which
They
area,
answer the
region.
same poll questions,
right.
right?
But then once you've done that once, then they kind of are registered, and then you can start correlating the things.
So
and you
I
can,
wish they would let you panel your screen so you could have 4 polls open at once.
yeah, that'd be nice, huh? I don't think they can do that yet. I haven't seen that yet.
That would
So,
be nice.
and
Like
then-
team 1 answer this,
Yeah,
team 2
yeah.
answer this.
Yeah. So that's all a lot of the. Oh, you can also do all kinds of interesting summary tables, and they've made it so that you could so you have a summary table here, and you can actually just copy and paste this stuff straight into Excel, and it will go into columns straight. Like you can copy and paste it, and it'll go right in, which might be helpful if you're trying to do a grade book type thing or something. That might be helpful. And you can do a response history, which tells you. It won't tell us much, but it'll say here's this one came through the web and these came through the texts and stuff like that. So we're kind of get some information that way.
So you could pull it, or you
And you
could
download spreadsheet
panel
stuff.
it in PowerPoint though. Couldn't you make like 4 slides with 4 different polls, and then panel those
Yeah,
slides up?
sure, you might be able to.
Because I want 4 teams of students to see where they're supposed to pull in at once on one big screen.
I don't know. We could see.
I think you could do that.
Have to play with it a little bit.
Yeah.
All of the use on UW campus up to this point has never included identifying students, because it was a free version. You couldn't do that, and depending upon what you want to do, that might be something you want to do. One thing to remember is that once you have them registered, then they are no longer. There's no way to get anonymous feedback from them unless they change devices. No, actually, even if they change devices, I think that you can't really do anonymous feedback.
What if you don't log in?
If you don't log in, you might be able to do it. Yeah. If they don't log in, but if they use their cell phone, it will always show up though.
But if you
Oh.
don't log in, you only get 30 responses, right?
No, if you
I
don't,
mean the
if the student
students, the
doesn't log in.
participants.
Oh,
not
I
us.
see.
But if you want to do this, so that's just something to keep in mind. You can create, you probably can create a poll where you're not actually. I don't know. We just got this part too, so but what you can do is if you want to, you can go up here to participants, and what you're going to do is you can invite new participants. You can do this a couple ways. You can just send them a link and say, I need you all to register here, or you can copy and paste the students' email addresses in there. Or you can import participants if you have it in a setup like in a setup you have to set up a CSV file and then upload it to get them to go in that way. So depending on your size of class, that might be your best option.
I actually had a question on this part. So
Yes.
if I have my students register, then I have like 60 students. Then all of them go into the pool of the
the whole pool.
the whole pool, right? So
Yeah.
but if like all of us started doing that, it's going to clutter.
It won't matter that much because what will happen is on your polls, it'll only show the students that responded.
Right, but then and on my
All-
side, I
all
think
of them will
okay,
be in
but
there.
like
Yeah.
for
It'll go into everybody.
right.
So if we look
Everybody
at what
will
she's
be in
saying is
there.
that the registered, as far as I can tell, there's no way to. I was fiddling with this because I had the same
Like
thing.
a sub-user type
Right,
of
and so these are all of the people that have
right.
I think everybody who has a account also gets an account on our UW Poll Everywhere account
Yeah.
also gets registered.
Right.
And so that's what she's saying is that can you? They're
It's
all
going
in
to
there.
right, like
They are.
students and
Everybody's
are
in
there
there.
limit
Thousands.
on the limit on?
I don't think there is. There's a limit on how many. Well, I mean, it's a huge limit. I think it's like 1,000 or something faculty that can be registered.
So when they register,
But the
register a
students-
student, then
Students doesn't matter. They just keep going.
Would they be able to create their own polls and stuff then?
No, this is just so that we can see what their poll. They can use the free version.
So I tell my students in my public speaking class who've used it, they've gone on and registered for the free version, or not registered, but created the free poll, and they can use it for their attention getting opener or whatever in their speech.
Well, right, but when I invite,
when you
because
invite
I'm going
somebody,
to have to track my students, and so we've got all these students who are
Right.
now registered.
But
Then
you don't-
are they registered for the UW account?
They
Or
aren't,
can-
no.
Okay.
they're
okay.
just registered. They're participants. They're not users.
User. Okay.
And I was really confused about that for a while, to be perfectly honest. I
Yeah,
actually
that's
had
a
some
good
people
point.
registered as participants, and then they couldn't figure out why their account didn't say more than 30, and then
Oh,
finally I
that's
figured it out. Was that you? Yeah. And finally I figured it out that you were registered as a participant and not as a user. So we know for a fact that if they register as a participant, they can't do more than 30. They're not part of our account. We know that for a fact because we could not figure out why Nicole couldn't do more than 30.
And we're already all sub-users, so that's probably why we can't organize it, because the main user is whoever, Michelle, that started this, right? Or that
Not
bought
anymore.
The purchased.
No, not anymore. Now I think the name on the account, it's not, I can't get onto it now because I'm not logged in that way.
Oh.
The name on the account now I think is actually mine, but I actually called and put the name as UW Poll Everywhere is the actual name now.
Okay, good. Okay.
So that it wasn't, because otherwise we were getting, when you invited somebody, you got an email from a random person, which may or may not be useful.
Yeah.
It wasn't useful when it was Michelle because most people didn't know who that was.
Yeah.
Then I changed it to me, and then I thought maybe it should just be UW Poll Everywhere.
I think it said UW Poll Everywhere because I kind of.
It should be.
It does
Yeah.
right up there. The
It should
top
be.
one.
It should say that now. I changed that.
Mhm.
So the one thing though is what happens then is, and I don't know if this is going to work on this, but it might because it's possible that I texted in, so maybe we'll be able to sell. So if we go into this poll and we go into the where it goes to the bottom, you said. Huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we go to this one. The students need to go in and put their cell phone numbers in there too. We should be able to see the response history, and we should be able to see on this, I think, is the one that, no, this is not it. Where is it? Oh dear. Reports. Maybe it's reports. Yeah, this is the one we could, so you can do that. So we can generate a report, and on a specific question.
You have to
Sorry,
add
I didn't choose a poll.
Yeah.
Let's go back down here and find it. What did it?
But why they're in a weird order now, aren't they?
How might we use it?
How much?
Right up.
Yeah.
There, how about this one? We'll do this one.
How come they're in a weird order?
So this didn't do it. Maybe none of us are actually in there yet. Oh wait, oh, go back. Sorry, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
So Kennedy and Nicole are registered.
But then the rest of us aren't registered, even though we're.
Well, I had to go into like certify under like settings on my account. I just put in my cell phone and had to text certify to the number, and then it. So I just did it.
So what that means then is that if I go in as a participant, so if I go in as me, I have to actually go in, and when I invite somebody, they're going to get a little window, and it'll ask them to put their cell phone number in, and they have to do that to get registered.
Click on mine, view responses.
Where are you? Oh, right where I am.
So shouldn't show anything because I've not been connected. Okay.
Now, how do we get it to?
But it would. So we can go back down. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay.
These are not in alphabetical order. How do you find it?
No.
Can you make them in alphabetical or no?
Okay.
So we can see Kennedy's because she is responding. She has it registered.
And
So.
tell us what she said too. It tells us what she said.
No.
Christy, how can we get them to have our poll everywhere send a text message back to the
Right.
student?
Oh, I forgot to do that. Yes.
So you can have it respond to your students who respond or who answer the poll. It'll send them something. Hey, look, check out this website if you want them to.
Same thing though, right? Same thing to everybody.
Same thing
right?
to everybody.
Yeah. That's in. I think that's in here. Where was that?
Wasn't it? Edit.
Where was it? It was. I did this just the other day.
Edit under the stop poll.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah.
And reply message.
Yeah, reply
Yes.
message.
Yes.
There you go.
Wait, I lost it.
It's to the
It's
right
right
side.
here. Yep. So you can give them a mess. You can give them a custom message that says. So what that means when they respond, it says send something back that says thanks for responding. We saw it used in a conference really effectively because we texted in. They asked a question about something, and then when we just texted in, then it sent us something back that said, you
Check
know,
out my
here,
website.
basically here's a citation on what you just said that says this. You know, so that it gave you the answer by texting back, and it would say go to this website type of thing. It was pretty cool.
Does that give the students the impression, though, that it's not anonymous because they're getting a response?
But you just have to tell them probably.
Well,
No,
so
I'm
now
just-
we have to tell them it's not if you whether you're doing anonymous or not because you can go in here and see them. So now when I start doing polls with my students, I will have to say that
it is
disclaimer
anonymous or
that
not.
I am going to be able to see, which I kind of like in the sense that in case anyone decided to text something funky or not good. The only weird message I ever got was Athena is cool. And I was like, that's a good message. You know, and that wasn't the response to the question, but I also put it out there to the students. I said, you know, use this as a true mechanism for learning. You can learn from your other classmates. They can learn from you. Please put insightful information into the poll so that we can all learn from each other. And then they automatically elevate to that level of respect and do it anyway. So
I think there's a lot of education of students that is helpful with this. I think that, you know, like just explaining what you're doing, why you're doing it. You know, because a lot of times when you talk to students, which we've done a bit of and done some surveys with students on this stuff, when you talk to them, their impression of the clicker is just that it's just about making sure that I'm in the class. Like they don't. That is whether or not that's being the way it's being used. That's how they perceive it. So a lot of it is telling them why you're doing it. You know, I mean, making sure that they understand that this is the reason I'm doing this is because I want to. I want to know what you're thinking out there, or you know, I want to see how the class is doing, or if you're trying to take attendance, tell them you're taking attendance. This time I'm taking attendance. This time I'm actually doing this. You know, I mean, just let them know because they'll be the general consensus of the faculty is that they'll really engage and really do a good job and give you good information if you tell them that's what they're doing. If you tell them that if you just kind of throw it out there, they'll be like, really? And they'll possibly send in annoying things.
And I use this for a mid-semester check-in with the students for feedback. And I'm open to their constructive criticism. I say, let's everybody poll in and give me some feedback on how you think the class is going. Maybe one thing that's going well, one thing you'd like to see changed. And then they poll in, and then we talk about it, and it gives me a chance to explain, okay, here's why we do this and why we can't change it. But here's something that maybe we could change, and I'll try to adjust that for the rest of the semester. And so then they feel like they have this contribution into class that they never had before, or they couldn't do student evals until the end of class, and this instructor's asking for feedback in the middle of class. And I used to do it on little note cards, you know, and just have them turn in the note card. But then I can see their handwriting, and it's not technically anonymous and all this kind of stuff. So this just works really well for that kind of thing.
Does anybody else do you have any questions? You guys feel a little more comfortable jumping in with this a little bit? It's really pretty that simple.
I want to use this to replace CPS response units only because I figure I won't hear anybody complaining about the cost. I'm
True.
fine with that as a parent of a college student.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
the deal with it is, I figure everybody's going to have a cell phone, everybody's going to have a web-enabled device, and I can deal with anyone who does it.
Right.
But I want to be able to, a question, my design up there, I want to have them respond to it. Then I want to show them the answer and remind them of how the rest of the class is doing. Just like in CPS, it's at least that way I use it. And then I want to be able to go back and grade it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you'll be able to do all
I'll be
that.
able to do that.
Yeah. Now,
Okay,
the
I
only
wasn't
thing
exactly clear that was going to be so. I'm willing to put in the next, the 8 hours or some whatever
Right.
it's going to do between
You'll
now
be able to
and Monday
do that.
to do
Yeah.
it. But I don't want to do it.
Yeah, you can do that by. I mean, we don't have a bunch of people registered, so that wasn't very useful. But you can actually go in and look at, look at them and find out how they answer.
Well, I have graphic intensive questions and graphic intensive
right.
answers and stuff. And they'll be trivial to make on a PowerPoint, transfer them to a PowerPoint slide. I don't see how it's at all possible to put it.
I don't think it's a great way to do it.
But I can have, if I can just have, lecture 12, question 1, answer A, B, C, or D, and then I have that off to the side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
That's the way I envision it.
So here you can. So if we get a graphic, say this is a graphic, all I have to do. You had a Mac, right?
Yeah.
So then all I have to do is open my poll over this graphic. I can move it anywhere I want. I can make it any size. Oh, maybe I can't make it any size I want. But I can move it anywhere I want.
Screen. Yeah.
I can do full screen if I want, but I probably don't want to in this scenario. I just put it over here, and then I just choose which one I want, and then there it is, and you can you can move it around and move your graphic around so you can have both on there.
Yeah. So two things I wanted to say. One consideration is not every student has a cell phone. So at LCCC, for example, I had a student who was 72 years old, and he'd never touched a cell phone before. He was scared to death of them. But as a result of using it in the class with a partner, he decided to purchase a cell phone at the end of the semester. So the thing is, if students don't have a cell phone, it's critical they have the opportunity to team up with someone, or if they don't have a laptop that they can use, they could team up with someone with a cell phone, or give them the opportunity to go to the poll later that night when they get to a computer and respond to it before you grade the final thing or whatever. So giving them at least multiple ways to respond if they don't have a cell phone, because you don't want to exclude anybody, although most people have cell phones. The second thing I was going to say is, on my way driving here from lunch today, I heard on the radio Union Wireless, which is next to Verizon, one of the wireless providers that we have here, is offering now a thing called Student Connect. So they're trying to make text messaging cheaper for students, because some students don't have text messaging because it's an additional fee each month, or they don't have a data package, essentially, so they can't go online. Well, now for $20 a month, Union Wireless is providing that prepaid, it's a prepaid thing, where they can have access to so much data and text messaging a month for $20. No contracts, no anything. So I thought that was cool that it feels like our wireless providers are responding to the needs of students who are starting to use these. Because a lot of students say, I can't afford a cell phone with those extra capabilities. All I can afford is to pay my phone bill. And so now you could say, not promoting Union Wireless, but you could say they are expanding deals out there for students to either pay as they go, prepay, a small portion, or lowered fees for. So ask them to check with their provider for student rates.
One thing is it's not entirely free if you have a cell phone, because you do have to pay the text. Most students are paying for that, and it's usually $5 a month. So I mean,
what?
It's often $5 a month for unlimited.
In
texting.
addition to their other.
So if they have a phone and they don't have texting, isn't it something like 20 cents a message?
Something like that.
It's still cheaper than buying a
It depends on how many you do, I guess. But
right, so we're just making you aware, because students may come and say, well, I can't afford this. And you're like, okay, 20 cents a message, A, or B, you can get even a data package
or whatever,
for $20 a month.
It's free on the computer if they have a computer. If they have a laptop.
It's less than probably
like
purchasing a clicker. I don't know how much the clickers cost. But
40, isn't it something like that?
I don't really know. Andy might know better.
I think it's around 40. Not much.
40.
All right, then it's going to be a lot.
And then you have to pay per class, so it's even more than 40.
Yeah, then you register for either the semester or for the class or for all classes. So it seemed to me it was obviously cheaper whether you had messaging or not.
And
so you can use it for more than just polling in at school, obviously. So
that's right. Then you can start texting. Wonderful. And getting texts. Is there any other questions, you guys? Any other concerns? Do we answer your questions? Do you feel like you can do this? It's pretty straightforward. I don't know that it's I mean, to get deep into it, it can be a little more complex, I think, possibly than just the straight clickers for you. It can be. but not necessarily. It might be about the same. I don't know that much about the clickers, but
So it's okay if my students started clearing all the account and
yes, it's fine.
60 students.
It's fine.
Next semester another 60.
It's fine. I don't. Yeah.
Until we run into a limit, I guess.
That doesn't seem to be. I did look on the administrative account quite a bit to see if I could figure that, because once I figured that out, I was like, what does this mean? Does this mean that when we hit? It doesn't seem to be a limit on it. There is a 1,000 limit, 1,000 person limit for the people creating the polls. But they're users. They're not the participants. There doesn't seem to be anything for participants.
So faculty who want an account can get on and be a user. My question is, yesterday at the graduate student orientation, we used this, and many graduate students want to use it in the classes they're teaching. So if they have teaching duties, can they get a user account?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you pull up a question that's accepting responses?
Yes. This one accepting response. This one is. I don't know why it's.
But as a
formatted like that.
participant, you cannot use show your participant option though.
What?
Because I was a participant for like a day, and I was not able to see who was responding. Show your participant.
They have to be.
It wasn't that option when I was a participant, I guess, because I was using a free account.
Oh yes, right. When you're using free accounts, you don't have that
right.
option.
Right.
No. The one thing, the other thing is that there is on here, and I don't somewhere that maybe on the edit, there is a students can only respond once. Yeah.
You could choose.
So automatically, it's a one-shot deal, which is if Stan is trying to respond. We'll do two, and then we'll be able to do something. That's what made me think of it was that. And so you can decide if you want them to respond just once, like you might want them to respond just once for yours, or maybe you want them to respond multiple times or whatever. You need to be able to do that under the edit there. You can change that.
Would you want to enable that if you're using it as a Jeopardy buzzer? Because when you have to clear the poll every time, when I was using the free one, after every Jeopardy buzzer, I had to clear the poll or nobody could respond again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything else? Other questions?
So, what is your Camtasia recording going to be?
I don't know yet. I'll figure out where I'm going to put it. I'll email it out. So, yeah.
I was going to say the non-live view of answers coming up, because I don't want them.
Yeah,
I don't care if they collaborate with their neighbors and discuss it, but I want them to put up what they think is right, and then close the poll and have them do it. Is there a way?
I thought there's a way of doing a static chart.
Well, one of the things, if you build this, kind of use a PowerPoint, being able to switch between the two apps, is you can take the text piece, put that on a PowerPoint slide, say, okay, time to respond to the question. And I believe that, where you have this download as a slide, that you can actually integrate the two pieces where you can now show the responses. Not positive, but if nothing else, you can have the slide on one slide, go to the next slide, and have the responses.
Yes.
You could go in and see what the code is and everything, and you could put that on one slide, and then have them do it, and then go to the next slide.
That's what I'm thinking, and then go to poll everyone.
Or I think that you can actually, this view, the static chart view, you can hit static chart, and I don't think it'll change.
In the very beginning, so before
anybody has anything, and nothing, and then you won't see anything. Nothing will change until you're done, and then you can say live chart. You won't see any
because
changes.
all these questions you're setting up well ahead of time, so you have all these questions. You can build your slides as you want.
You could, yeah.
And now you can go back and show, just independently pull up each slide or each polling question and go, okay, here's how you respond.
Plus, if you want to monitor what students are saying, for those faculty who are concerned they might get some negative or some not good feedback on that, you could have a slide that just has the static chart that says here's how you respond, and then you could have a slide where it's coming in, and you can check that before you put it up for students to see, to make sure that it's clean and what you want, what non-offensive, essentially.
And it'll let you know when you cannot vote anymore on that.
Yes, it's in the back and says, "Hello, you have voted. You're done."
Not do this again.
So that number you text 2376067 or whatever it was, that's the same for every poll in your account?
For me.
You.
Now, what's interesting is I just downloaded the Android app for this. All I did was put in this number and never put in where it's going out.
Yeah, cool.
Because it I think that 3706 or 607, that is for poll everywhere.
It might be.
Oh,
That is poll
Is that
everywhere's
for
number.
it's
Is that the same on yours, Christy?
This is
That's what mine
this
says.
key. This key is
This is what you said on your
This
screen.
one
where it's
mine's
actually recording the
22333.
answer.
That's what I thought. I had seen the 223.
So here's the deal. It was 22333,
Yeah, it might
and then
be.
they had to get another number because that one filled up. I bet you. Yeah. Because you're right. This 37607 I've seen on a lot of polls.
That's true.
Because if
Yeah,
you
I
use,
thought I saw it in my polls.
if
Yeah.
you use Twitter, then you just do an app poll.
Yeah, and if you do this, you just do polleb.com too.
Right,
I mean,
and
it's
so-
one spot.
Yeah.
Right.
So what's
So
really
the
important
answer
is,
Is that
is
is
word?
this
Is
answer.
that
So that's
answer.
why the keywords can only,
Taken.
if they're
It's
taken,
yeah.
you can't
You
use
can't,
it twice.
yeah.
Yep.
So it is site wide.
Right.
It is.
Then.
Mm-hmm.
Which is handy because then the students don't have to type in the number to send it to every time. You can set
That's
up a.
true.
You can set up a.
It can be in your
Contact.
contact
Contact.
list.
Pull everywhere.
But
Yeah.
you can also tie, one of the things that you can do is tie this, I'm getting ahead, but like to a QR code. They
Yeah,
just
you
take a
could.
picture and
Yeah,
ding, or,
you could.
send it along the way.
That's a great idea,
Yep.
Stan.
So you can set up polls around campus, just tape
Yeah.
it here and,
Boom.
see what people.
Make it
Exactly.
quick and easy.
So you said that there was an Android app for this?
Mhm.
Yes.
There is. I first mentioned that.
Yeah, just poll everywhere, one word, and
Yeah.
took you right
Is
there.
that an iPhone app?
Probably.
Oh, let's find out.
Well, I got one.
The odds are that there is. Would be my guess.
Thank you guys. I'm sorry.
Thank
Alright.
I
you.
have a student waiting for me.
So once then a student registers, though, whether they register under your poll or your poll, they're registered because it's a site-wide thing.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
a
true?
good question.
So that if I don't have students, I
It
want my
is.
stuff to be anonymous. But if I happen to have the same student that you
Yeah, but
have,
if you never look,
okay, then I can still claim it's anonymous. Okay.
it's a good question. I mean, if you have the same student and they register for her and they don't register for you, they are registered in the system.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, unless you're, there's no iPhone app, by the way. Unless you're, unless you're, they're not registered for you, so there's no reason for you to look.
Right. Right.
It's like, because you're not even thinking about that. But that is, I believe that would be the case.
Okay.
Because they're not registering for you, they're registering for UW Poll Everywhere.
Right.
So I
Okay.
think it's all the same. I think if I say, it is all the same, right? Because Athena did not, this is Athena's account, and she did not put all these people in,
Mm-mm. No
Right.
way.
Right. Right. And there they all are.
and there
right.
they all are. So this is all the people that have been put in from
Or you could
the
just
administrative account.